nerdy knitters. In this video, we're looking at 3 different methods for casting on toe-up socks. When you want to start at the toe and work a closed cast on and work all the way to the cuff and then bind off. This video was specifically made for Addi Flexiflip Needles. They're short, two-sided, double-pointed needles with these flexible tips in the middle. So I'm going to demonstrate the Turkish cast on, the figure 8 cast on, and Judy's magic cast on. If you want to jump to any point in the video, use the timestamp links in the video description box down below. The first option for our toe-up socks is the Turkish cast on. We start that by making a slip knot. Then we take that needle with the slip knot and our second needle, hold them together. The slip knot's on the bottom needle. Keep that tail out of the way. Now you're going to wrap your yarn starting underneath and bringing it up and around for half the total number of stitches you need to cast on. If your toe-up sock pattern says to cast on 20 stitches total, 10 stitches on each needle, you're going to wrap 10 times. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bring it back down and around and hold it there. You don't want to lose your last wrap. Make sure you have enough wraps. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I have 10 wraps here. That will make 20 stitches for my cast on for my toe, 10 on each needle. So I'm holding that last wrap down into the back. The bottom needle we can just pull out, give us a little more space to work, and it just sits there on the cable. And we're going to work across these top 10 stitches with our third needle. So just move them up a bit. And they're going to be quite loose because it's just a wrap that we made around our needle. But hold that first one tight, that final wrap, and just work across the stitches. There's our last one. So we slide the stitches we've just worked to that cable. We can turn our work and we're going to work across this next section. So we slide those stitches up on the needle. Okay, the first thing on here is our slip knot, which we can just drop right off. It's still kind of going to hang loose right there. It'll be fixed in place once we work this row. So we just knit across that row. There, we finished the center of our cast on. You can see right there, we've got a row of stitches right in the middle for the bottom of our toe. So we would just, at this point, keep turning your work. Now you're going to be knitting in the round and increasing for your toe. I'll work some more rows so we can see how this looks. Here, I've worked a few more rows so you can see where that tail is. You can pull that to tighten. It might be a little loose right there. I did a couple of increases. You can't see the cast on, it just looks like a toe-up sock. That's what the inside looks like. So that is the Turkish cast on. The next toe-up cast on we're going to use is the figure 8 cast on. Take 2 of your needles and hold them parallel, like that. Take the tail of the yarn in between the two. You're going to hold that in place with your thumb. And this one is just a basic figure 8 motion. Bring it up and around the top needle and between the two, and up and around the bottom and between the two. And that is 1 stitch, don't count your tail, 1 stitch cast on for each needle. So if your pattern says to cast on 20 stitches total, you'll do 10 on each needle. and just keep making that figure 8 up into the middle, down into the middle, up, around the bottom needle, around the top. You continue until you have 10 on each needle, or whatever your cast on is, and you'll finish by bringing the yarn back to the middle between the needles again. 9, one more. This one is pretty loose. It starts out fine, but you'll see as you work it, it gets quite loose. All right, so we have those there, 10 on each. The yarn is back between the two. So this bottom needle, we can slide it and let those stitches rest on the little cable. And we're gonna work across the top stitches, trying to keep that yarn tail down right there. Okay, so you take your third needle and you'll just work across, oops, drop that first one. Work across those top stitches. You can see they're getting quite loose, but this is totally normal. There, and that should be 10. Okay, so now we can turn our work and then slide that needle in, and this needle, slide those stitches to the center. We've already worked them. And that tail, we're not going to knit the tail. You can just bring that and drop it down. It'll get caught in there as we work these other stitches. But now this bottom row was twisted. If you look at the stitch, you can see the right leg is in the back. So if we knit into this front leg, we're going to twist those stitches, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep them untwisted. So we have to knit into the back legs of these stitches. There. That is our second row done. So if you look, you can see that bit of knitting in between. It's our first row. It is a bit loose. This cast on produces a loose center. I'll work a few more rows and we can look at this one. All right, I worked a few more rows and you can see the cast on row is right in the middle. And it is, if you look on the other side, you can see it's a bit loose. That right there. So it's a good cast on, but it is a bit loose and sloppy compared to some of the other ones. The next one we'll look at is a variation on this figure 8, the Judy's Magic Cast On. There's a few ways to work this, but the method I like keeps the bottom row from twisting, so you don't have to work into the bottom leg of the stitch. All right, for Judy's Magic Cast On, this variation of it, you'll need a long tail of yarn. You'll hold it just like you would for a long tail cast on. So you need a tail to cast on stitches for one needle, and you'll use the working yarn to cast on stitches for the other. And you have your 2 needles, and you're going to be doing another sort of figure 8 motion. The thumb yarn will be wrapped around the top needle, and this finger yarn will be wrapped around that bottom needle. So it reverses motion, but we'll always be going from the top of the needle, from the bottom of the needle up and around, no matter which needle. In that motion, it's a slight variation, but it keeps the stitches from being twisted. To start, we'll just go like that, and that's our first stitch on, we have to hold it there so it doesn't move, but it's the first stitch on our bottom needle. So for our top needle, we come down to our thumb, and up and over. And then the bottom needle, we come to the top, the bottom of the needle to the middle. This bottom one, We come down here for our top needle, we insert in between, bring it to the top, bring our needles back up from the bottom to the middle, down, insert between and over, come back up, underneath the needle to the middle. You continue this motion until you have all of the needles, all of the stitches you need cast on. Seven, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, once you have them all cast on, you turn your work. We're going to work across this top needle, so the bottom needle can be slid out till those stitches are on the cable. And then we want to make sure we grab our working yarn, and this one's still hanging here, so we're going to bring that up and under, just sort of twist it in there so it will hold it in place. Then we take our other needle and we knit across these stitches. There, and after we've finished, we can slide those stitches to the center, turn our work, and pull these stitches up on the needle to work. Move our yarn tail. And the normal Judy's Magic cast on sometimes twists the stitches, but the way we've worked them, they should stay open so we don't have to work them through the back loop. And this, her variation, it tightens up that middle row. That normal figure 8 seems pretty loose, but this one is much tighter, as you can see already, just working across the stitches. And there you go, that's your first 2 rounds. You work your increases. You can see right there we have some stitches in the middle. I'll work a few rounds and we can look at that again. There's a few more rows worked. You can see this one doesn't look as loose as the figure 8 cast on did. And there you have it, 3 methods for working toe-up socks on Addi Flexiflips. If you like to get a bit nerdy with your knitting, click the like and subscribe button down below.